Joining me this evening to speak from the senior class are Mr. Thomas Hudek, Senior Class President, and Mr. Brady Cloyd, Student Body President. First up, we have Tommy Hudek.
So you know what today feels like? The last day of 6th grade. I can remember my preteen self sitting on that bus. I was exhausted from a hard day of water games and snow cones. I watched all my teachers all lined up waving their last goodbyes. The kids in the seats around me were jumping around and excitedly making summer plans. I sat there, flipping through my yearbook, and do you know how I felt? The exact same as the day before. Nothing had changed. I still felt like a 6th grader. The truth is, I don't know what I expected my outcome would be, but what I felt didn't feel like what should have felt like. Did I think I'd magically grow a foot? Was my IQ gonna jump up 10 points? Was I just gonna know how the world worked after a split-second milestone? The same thing happened in middle school. After the talent show and the dodgeball tournament, after getting everyone's signatures and saying goodbye to all my teachers, nothing changed. I still felt like Tommy Hudek, 8th grader. Not a high schooler, not a graduate. In fact, if anything, I was more nervous than sad or excited. I would look at Kilbourne and this towering brick building looming over us. Now walking down the halls, it looks like a dollhouse. And I can't believe I was so scared of it. We were brought up to fear what was to come in high school. I went to Granby, and I remember one day my 6th grade teacher had said, you know, Tommy, you'd better get that organization down before you cross the street. That phrase always stuck with me. We've been taught to fear high school so much that some teachers wouldn't even mention it by name, like it was the boogeyman or Lord Voldemort. As you see these movies and shows of kids being shoved into lockers and evil principals that are on a mission to catch Ferris Bueller red-handed. It's my favorite movie, I just slipped that in. But that isn't what it's like. At least in my experience, I love Kilbourne and all the people in it. It's a sentiment that's been shared for generations. You don't truly know how much you appreciate something until it's gone. An important lesson that I've taken away from this past year is to appreciate every aspect of life, even the seemingly mundane. I would never think that I would miss walking in a packed hallway, hearing the droning bell, or even just seeing people's faces. Yet here I am again, celebrating another milestone and feeling like I should be feeling something different, some big change. Then it occurred to me that it's not like any of these principals like Mr. Thomas, Mr. Curie, or Ms. Schlegel could flip a magic switch on the graduation days I've experienced and suddenly make me a new person. And while I don't feel it now, I am a new person. We are all, because the truth is, we've been making this transition all along. Every moment in high school has led up to now. We are ending yet another chapter, but like one of those many books we have read. The chapter might end, but the story continues. We sit here today, a collection of the moments which make up a larger story of who we were, who we are now, and who we will become. You didn't come home from freshman homecoming gaining any character traits, although you may have learned a new style of dance. You couldn't suddenly teach chemistry after taking the AP Chem exam. Chapters are just big, bold headings that define what is to come next. And that's where we are now. Our stories aren't stopping. This world is going to keep spinning, and we will keep growing. And growing means triumphs and failures. We've celebrated some of our best days and survived all of our worst days ever. Just like our journey has been so far, full of some downs, failed tests, choked game-winning shots, rejected dates, a worldwide pandemic. It is important to note that there's always an upswing. Just by sitting here, you've overcome 100% of your failures. Now, I'm no mathematician, I'm not a betting man, but I don't have to be Mr. Hermiller to tell you those are some pretty incredible odds. The key to overcoming your failures is understanding that help will be there if you're bold enough to ask for it. And in all honesty, It isn't something that you should be ashamed of. You just have to be prepared to offer that same help to someone else in need. I think as a Worthington community, we've always done well instilling this kindness. Just as our school motto, The Law of the Jungle by Rudyard Kipling says, stamped in brass letters above that entrance you pass every day, the strength of the wolf is the pack. As a freshman, you might have found it cheesy, but sitting here now, you understand why it's there. So before I wrap up, I want to ask, what does Kilbourne mean to you? For me, Kilbourne wasn't the ACT, it wasn't winning an OCC title, it wasn't even senior prom. For me, Kilbourne was every side conversation I had in class. It was walking my friends to their classes. It was riding the volleyball team bus. It was fist bumping Mr. Miller in the hallway. It was reading the announcements. I think the beauty of a journey is the seemingly mundane. The sad thing is, we tend to only focus on these big events. You walk in on freshman day and grab your class of 21 shirt, and before you know it, you're signing off as the voice of Kilbourne for the last time in your life. There's this old quote I wish I could have told myself on that bus ride home from 6th grade, my last day. It's simple to love something beautiful, but it is beautiful to love something that is simple. Don't get caught up in this grandeur. And don't be scared that there might not be any big milestones ahead for you. You have a whole lot of life to live, and with that, a lot of small things to appreciate and a lot of growth to be made. So if there's one thing I want to make clear, don't be afraid of what's to come. Go into it full steam ahead with excitement for the future. I have never been afraid to turn the page to the next chapter of a book, and I'm assuming none of you have either, so go forth and continue your story. Thank you.